different types of respiration. Before learning different types of respiration, let us learn about cellular respiration. I explained already what is cellular respiration. This is the definition for cellular respiration. So what is cellular respiration? Is the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy. Breakdown of food in the cell. So this takes place in each and every cell. Cellular respiration takes place in each and every cell. What is a cell? So definition I have given. Cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. You take any living things. Maybe it is made up of single cell as we have seen in amoeba, or it is made up of many number of cells like the higher plants and animals like mango tree, neem, okay, coconut tree, grass. They are all higher plants. When we talk about higher animals, rat, cat, rabbit, lion, human beings, birds, right? They are all higher animals. They will be made up of many number of cells. So what is a cell? Cell is the smallest structure, the smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. It carries out all the life processes. Okay. So now, the respiration is one of the life process, and it takes place in each and every cell. In case of human being, each and every cell we find the cellular respiration. What is cellular respiration? Is breaking down of the food. Breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy. That is called cellular respiration. Now let us learn which are the different types of respiration. So which are the different types of respiration? We will be learning about mainly about two types of cellular types of respiration. One we call it aerobic respiration. One is aerobic respiration. The other one is anaerobic respiration. Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. These are the two types of respiration. So let us see what is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means you are breaking down food. Food, when we say, you should always remember food means glucose. Okay. So the breakdown of glucose using oxygen. When you are breaking down the food or the glucose using oxygen and releasing energy, that is called aerobic respiration. Okay. So let us write down what is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is nothing but breakdown of food. Breakdown of food. So I told you, when we say here food, it is glucose. Breakdown of glucose in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen and releasing energy. Releasing energy is called aerobic respiration. Okay. Releasing energy. So, aerobic respiration, remember, it is seen in all the higher plants and animals. Higher plants and animals, they respire aerobically. Higher plants and animals, they respire aerobically. So let us write down in a schematic formation. That is glucose. What is glucose? It is the simplest form of carbohydrate which gives us energy. So glucose in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, it gives out energy. A lot of energy will be released. Not only energy, it also forms certain waste product, and those waste product we have to learn, that is carbon dioxide and water. Along with energy, it will also give out carbon dioxide and water. I write here in word equation, symbolically I write. So C6H12O6 in the presence of oxygen, that is O2. In the presence of oxygen, and what is released? Carbon dioxide and water, and lot of energy is released. Okay, this reaction is not, this equation is not balanced, only just to make you understand. So what is C6H12O6? It is glucose. In the presence of oxygen, that is O2. And what happens? It gives out carbon dioxide and water, and lot of energy is released. Do you remember when you check this reaction? Anything comes to your mind? Anywhere you have learned this equation? Somewhere else? We have learned that carbon dioxide and water, is combined to form glucose, and oxygen is released. Where have we learned this equation? Carbon dioxide plus water, right? It is combined and it forms glucose or the carbohydrate or starch, and oxygen is released. Which is this reaction? Which is this equation? Yes, this is photosynthesis. This is photosynthesis. And let us see the respiration. In respiration, what does happen? Glucose plus oxygen gives you carbon dioxide and water. This is respiration. That is aerobic respiration. See? Right? So glucose and oxygen has given out carbon dioxide and water, and the plants take this carbon dioxide and water from the soil, and it prepares the food, that is glucose, and it releases oxygen. The opposite of the photosynthesis reaction is respiration, right? So I hope you understood. So I hope what is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is breaking down of the food or the glucose using oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide and water, and lot of energy is released. That is called aerobic respiration. And let us see what is anaerobic respiration. What is this anaerobic respiration? That is, in some organism, some small like unicellular organism, okay, or it may be like the bacteria and yeast, okay, they respire, they break down the food in the absence of oxygen. That type of respiration, we call it anaerobic respiration. So what is anaerobic respiration? It is breakdown of food. So I am writing here glucose in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. Here very less amount of energy is released. Okay, in aerobic respiration, lot of energy will be released. In case of anaerobic respiration, very small amount of energy will be released. Let me represent this. Glucose in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, the glucose is broken down. So what will be formed? It will form a substance called alcohol. Okay, that is ethyl alcohol will be formed, and even carbon dioxide will be formed, and very less amount of energy will be released. Okay. So this is anaerobic respiration. Okay. I hope you understood these two types of respiration. So let us write the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So what are the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? So let us see that. So aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration is what? Breaking down of glucose. Okay. Breakdown of glucose in the presence of oxygen. Presence of oxygen. This is aerobic respiration. And what is formed? Carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide and water is released as products. Okay. And a lot of energy is released. Lot of energy is liberated. Always remember aerobic respiration, a lot of energy will be released. And it is seen in all the higher plants and animals. So this is our aerobic respiration. And coming to anaerobic respiration, so you know now we can write what is anaerobic respiration. So anaerobic respiration, breakdown of food in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen. This is anaerobic respiration. And what is formed? It forms alcohol and carbon dioxide. See the difference is produced. Alcohol and carbon dioxide is produced. And very less amount of energy is released. Very less amount of energy is released. Okay. And it is seen in lower organisms. Lower organisms such as bacteria and yeast. Bacteria and yeast. Yeast is a fungi, you know, right? Yeast is used in making bread, cake, and all. They use yeast, right? Because you know it releases carbon dioxide, so the bread and the bun will become soft. So this is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. There's one more type of respiration is there that happens in our body, in the muscles, you know, in our body also. Sometimes we also respire anaerobically. Just now I was telling, we respire aerobically. All this while I was explaining, higher plants and animals, we respire aerobically. That is, we take oxygen to break down food or the glucose and we obtain energy. But sometimes during certain situation, we also respire anaerobically. When? During which situation? Have you noticed that after a heavy exercise or all of a sudden you have taken part in some sports, running race, you develop muscle cramp or you have walked for a longer distance, right? After the while you start getting that muscle cramp, muscle pain you will get. Why do you get this muscle cramp? Maybe after a heavy exercise, when you are indulged in a heavy exercise or walking or sports, what happens? The energy, demand for energy will be more. So what happens? The glucose that is stored in our muscle cells, that will be broken down anaerobically so that they can give that energy, they can fulfill the energy demand. I hope you understood. When you are indulged in a heavy exercise, the demand for the energy will be more. So what happens? The glucose which is stored in the muscle cells, they are broken down in the absence of oxygen so that the energy is given. But when that happens, when glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen in our muscle cell, it will form a substance called lactic acid. When this lactic acid is stored, when it is produced in our body, that is when we get muscle cramp, right? So let me write down anaerobic respiration in the muscle cell. Anaerobic respiration in muscle cells. Okay. So what happens when we respire anaerobically? Okay. So glucose is there, present where? In the muscle cells, and in the absence of oxygen. So this is anaerobic respiration. In the absence of oxygen, the glucose will be partially broken down, not complete breaking down. Complete breaking down of glucose takes place only in aerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration, the glucose is partially broken down. In case of yeast and bacteria, it is partial breakdown, and there what is formed? Alcohol and carbon dioxide, and energy is formed. This is in our cell, in muscle cell. We are higher organism. We are known to respire aerobically, but sometimes when the energy requirement is more, what happens? The glucose in the absence of oxygen will be broken down, and what is formed? Lactic acid is formed with energy. I hope you understood why we respire anaerobically. When the energy requirement is more. I told you the situation when it is required more. That time the muscle cell, whatever glucose is stored, that will undergo anaerobic respiration, and it forms lactic acid. When lactic acid is produced, we develop muscle cramps. Muscle pain we will develop. So this you can overcome or you get relief from the muscle cramp when you are given a nice massage with a hot oil or hot water. When you take bath, then the pain will be subside. Okay, pain will subside. Okay, so that's about anaerobic respiration in muscle cell. Now I hope you understood the different types of respiration.